Welcome everyone, my name's Pete Bullimore. I'm a voice hearer. I'm not just a voice hearer, I'm proud to say I'm a voice hearer. My experiences and I own them. And it's really pleased to be here today during this presentation from the Melissa Roberts Foundation in Australia. I'd like to talk to you about the Maastricht interview for problematic thoughts, beliefs and paranoia. Now this is module 5 of 5. The Melissa Roberts Foundation offers a series of online training modules around the experience of hearing voices and paranoia. Now, with an introduction to the Maastricht interview, it's been designed as a research tool. This questionnaire was created to collect insights from people experiencing paranoia. Over time, it's become a valuable method for understanding shared experience of paranoia, disabling beliefs and fears, and developing a range of coping strategies to help people manage their experiences. The questionnaire has had a lot of impact on people globally. We've trained over 12,000 people globally now on how to use this approach. As mental health professionals began using the Maastricht interview, they discovered helps explore a person's distressing experiences, builds confidence in mental health workers when working with paranoia and problematic beliefs. The lived experience in research. The questionnaire is developed in partnership between people lived experience and paranoia and mental health professionals. And people lived experience are regarded as being the experts with a full understanding of paranoia and play an equal role in finding solutions. Now the 3 steps to making sense of problematic thoughts, beliefs and paranoia. The first one is the interview. It's a semi-structured questionnaire to be completed in collaboration with someone that has problematic thoughts, beliefs or paranoia. Now, when you do this with someone, you wouldn't do it all in one session. From the research we've done, it's 6, 8, 10, maybe 12 sessions depending on the person's engagement. You would not do it all in one session, it'd be too much for the interviewer and too much for the interviewee. Then from there, we're going to develop a report. The information from the interview is carefully selected, sealed and organised. It's then a summary of the report of the person's experiences. Now, this is something that we are quite strict on. If I was doing this with someone, now I may just start with the nature and the focus in the interview. That's all you're going to get done in 60 minutes. It's very, very important. After that session, you must start to write the report. People wait while the end. We should not do that because there's not enough reflective practice. You start to write it before we commence the second session. You've got to feed it back to the person. You can't work on interpretation, you can't work on assumption, you can only work on facts. The person might say to me, well actually Pete, no, you've misinterpreted me there mate, that's not what I said. Or I've gone away, I've gone and I've reflected. So when we get to the social network at the end, we have agreed the report with the person. It's something very, very important. Then from there we're going to develop a construct. We're going from the general to the more specific. We're going to look at what fears in the person's life do the experiences represent, or who or what created those fears. Now, if you've agreed the report, you're working on facts, it's very important. Now, if the person doesn't agree with the construct, maybe it's something they haven't yet made the association with, or it's something they're not yet ready to see. So writing the report and feeding it back before we develop the construct is very, very important, very important. Understand the experience. Now, the nature of the experience is very, very important. This is a very important question. How would you describe your experiences? Paranoia, intrusive thoughts, problematic beliefs, or other explanation? Now, someone might say to you, I call my experiences the ticking clock syndrome. That is the framework you've got to work in. Don't talk about paranoia, problematic beliefs. You would talk about the ticking clock syndrome. We're working within their framework. You change that to paranoia, say, I haven't got paranoia. I've got the ticking clock syndrome. You be respectful to their belief system. It's very, very important. Who or what are involved in your experiences? Do others share the similar experiences? Recognise steps in how your experiences develop. Somebody might say, something might trigger my thoughts. I walked into a bar as somebody looked at me in a strange way. That was my interpretation. So I left. I went home and I started to ruminate on this. And before I knew it, I was in the conviction stage. I was convinced that they were talking about me. So look at how quickly it can cycle for some people. Then looking at the focus. What's the focus of your experience? MI5, police, religion, government. Now, I just want to go back to this because it says who or what is involved in your experiences. Now, somebody might say it's figures of authority. This might look like replication. But and this one they might say it is figures of authority, but it's more female authority than male authority. Could give more of an identity in there. Do you feel living in a surreal world or living in two worlds, another world? Looking for a dissociative state here. When a person dissociates, where do you go? Is that a place of safety? How long do you stay there? It's very much a protective factor. Do your experiences protect you? Sometimes through hypervigilance, people can spot danger very quickly, so they're actually protecting them in that situation. Do you feel being taken over by someone or something? Now, many times when you ask this interview, more women than men will respond, say, my body was overtaken by an alien. Now we're going to document that. We're not going to explore it further. That will come under childhood, because quite often what they're talking about here, they're not talking about a little green man taking over their body. They're talking about an alien act. No human being would do this to another human being, so it must be an alien. But you find out more about that in childhood. We won't explore it further at this point. Then looking at the history. When did the experiences begin? Looking at certain ages. It's very, very important. You've got to separate these out, because paranoia is not always on a continuum. You might say first episode was 5, next one was 13, next one I was 36. You've got to separate them out and look what was happening in your life prior to the onset of each experience of paranoia. It is very, very important. Then here there's a list of changes that's happened in that person's life. Did your experience have changed from positive into negative? And how did that happen? But also you've got to be very careful what you put in here as well, because upon disclosure, someone may have to be moved to childhood. Someone might say to you, when I was 7 years old, I went into foster care. My foster parents sexually, physically and emotionally abused me. Then I developed a fear of authority. What you're going to put in history is age 7, going into foster care, onset of the first episode of paranoia. We're not going to put what happened in there because that goes into childhood. We don't want the repetition. And one of the questions in childhood is, have you ever had sex against your will, a situation where you were unable to escape? So you might say, well, when I was 19, I was coming home from a nightclub and I got raped. So I have a fear of the dark. Well, at 19, you're not a child. That would be moved to history. So upon disclosure, some of the information may have to be moved around. Then looking at what triggers is certain places associations, smells or phobias may trigger. There's deep significance behind these triggers. That's what we're going to explore. You tell me at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday evening, your experiences get very negative. What's the significance of 9 o'clock on a Tuesday evening? What thoughts may be evoked around this time and what do they relate to? And then these emotions. The experience could be strong emotion or emotional numbness, so we have to be very, very careful of. Quite often, when people have been through difficult things in their life, they switch off their emotions. It's a classic sign within childhood trauma and childhood abuse. They'll switch off their emotions. When you start to ask these questions, those emotions are going to surface. You have to be very careful that you control them. If they overwhelm the person, you can get negative voices. It's important to remember, voices are not thoughts. Voices are emotions. There's a difference between hearing voices and having intrusive thoughts. If I was walking down the road, I can make a conscious decision in my mind that I'm going to turn left. A voice would be more of an instruction. You are turning left or we are turning left. Now, to identify whether you're working with voices or thoughts, it's very important. You'll have to support the person to do this. The voice is very, very critical. Encourage the person to tell the voices to F off. Voice might know, you F off. There's an interaction. If your thoughts are being very negative, then you ask them a direct question. It is impossible for a thought to have an automatic thought to respond. If you can't justify it, why do we take it on board? And also, we'd work with them differently to what you would hear in voices. Then we have early warning signs. There's racing thoughts, isolation, altered sleep pattern, or stopping eating. What's the association behind this? I've noticed during the day you're asleep, in the evening you're awake. Why is that? I don't feel comfortable where I am at the moment. Why is that? It's an early warning sign that things may develop and become more problematic. Then we need to try and throw some interventions. It's very, very important. And again, when this does happen, do you take action? Do you gain support around this? If not, why is it that you don't take action? Then as a childhood, we have to be very, very careful with this, the questions in this. Was your childhood pleasant or stressful? Did the person experience abuse such as sexual, physical, emotional neglect or bullying? Now, when you fill this interview in with people, you're going to document what's happened in that person's life. That is okay. But when you write the report, No content of who put what where should be in that report. The report belongs to the person. So those are the headings you would use. When you use those headings, the person knows what you're describing because they've lived it and they've told you about it. That's the important thing, very important. So we don't put the content in there, it's very important. And then how does it impact on the person's life? Did the experience influence their emotions? Did it make the person feel special? Are the experiences frightening? Did it impact other people? If so, how? But also, I'd be reflective on that question. You're telling me that it affects your partner. How do they respond? Do anything? What to do positively? What to do negatively? Something we can start to sort out. We've got support in there. If not, the responses that they're giving, how can we change their thinking on that as well? Then to coping strategies. There's a list of coping strategies in there. You go through it with the person. Do they use them? If yes, how does it affect the person? Or are there any other coping strategies you want to add to that list? Now you've put a very comprehensive list of coping strategies here. Do you use them systematically? If not, why not? Why is it that you're not using them? Then to the medical history and treatment. Has a person been in hospital care? What kind of care and treatment have they had during their experiences? And how positive was it within their life? What outcomes did they gain from that? Then the social network. How do people know about their experiences? But who can they speak to about it? I hear this many times. You know, how many people around you know that you have these experiences? Well, there's 6 people. Okay, do they support you with it? No. That's why. Why is it they don't support you? They might say, they just don't know what to do, Pete. They want to help, but they don't know what to do. So is there any information we can get for family members or people that want to support them? So if times are difficult, they can support them. Or they may say, nobody wants to help. So can we find some other alternative support so they can get support if and when they need it? Now, after viewing this video, if you feel you require assistance or support, please contact Lifeline's 24-hour support line. There's 131114. Now that's the support line in Australia. You may be in a different country. In England it would be the Samaritans, different countries with different support lines. Please see if you can find a support line if you do need support. It's very, very important because you're doing some very difficult things. Or you could contact your mental health practitioner or a family member or friend. There are support services out there that we can use. And thank you very much for giving us your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you for MRF for organising this. Thank you very much.